And good evening, and welcome to Impact 2025. This is a weekly discussion of today's issues and topics, and we try to discuss them from a Christian perspective. And this is an offering or a ministry of Imani Christian Ministries. We're located at 501 West 9 Mile Road. Normally, your moderator is Nathaniel. He's on his way to the studio. As most of you know, we had a pretty bad snowstorm. Well, it wasn't that bad, but it was just cold and icy. And he's on his way to the studio. He should be in a few minutes. Um, Also, as part of Imani, we do offer some other things here. On Tuesdays, of course, at 8 o'clock, we offer Impact 2025. But we also, from 7 to 7:45, offer a time of prayer. And we invite you to be in prayer with us as we call on the name of the Lord, wherever you are. You don't have to be here in the building. But wherever you are, we take that time and we agree that we're going to share together in praying and asking God to move. Amen. Asking God to hear our prayers and to move on our behalf. And so from 7 to 7:45, that's what we're doing. We're praying. Now, you don't have to pray the entire 45 minutes, but during that time, we invite you to agree to be in prayer with us, and hopefully for us. Um, if you do have a prayer concern, you can give us a text or leave us a message at 804-486-9200. That's 804-486-9200. And we will be in prayer for you and with you. Also, on Thursdays at 7, we have Bible study, weekly Bible study here on Facebook and YouTube. And again, we invite you to become and share and be a part of that. And so, again, that's Thursdays at 7 here on Facebook and YouTube. Now, today on Impact 2025, there's a topic that Brother Nathaniel is going to be talking about. But before he starts that, I want to make sure that we are clear and informed that a young lady, she's in the house right now out of Texas, Jasmine Crockett, and I'm sure many of you have heard her. One of the things that you always need is somebody who will speak truth, as they say, the power to speak up. And one of the things that she has decided to do um, is to run for the Senate of Texas. Now it's interesting that she's going to try this. She's going to try, and I'm going to tell all of you now, it's going to be an uphill battle for her. And the reason I say that is because Democrats have not won a Senate race in 30 years, I think, in Texas. 30 years. That's ridiculous. And so what we do know is that Texas is a very, I'm not going to say conservative because I don't think that's the word. It's a very Republican um, state. However, given where a lot of people are right now financially, given where people are in relationships to just, the feeling of the country, um, she may have an opportunity to take that seat. But anyway, what would be interesting is to see what will happen. I think she is a very bright star, and I'm not even going to say in relationship to the Democratic Party. I'm going to say she's a bright star, period, because I think we do need to have people who are willing to challenge what's happening, particularly within the government and within politics. And so, again, Jasmine Crockett will be running, throwing her hat in for the Senate in Chicago. And I will remind you that, again, it's been 30 years since a Democrat has won the Senate in a Senate seat in Texas. So we'll be interested to see what happens. Okay, just wanted to throw that out there to you. Brother Nathaniel is here and he's ready to go. I'm sure he's going to have an exciting topic. Amen. And so let's prepare to see what he's going to say to us tonight and see what we're going to be wrestling with. All right.
All right. Just want to welcome everybody again to Impact 2025. Let's hop right into it. I just want to. I've said this before, and I just want to remind people again. Sometimes we have guests. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have guests because it's a good topic that guests they have some expertise to lend to us, and some value there. And sometimes we don't have guests because we'll have a topic where it gets a little dicey. And even though this is that safe place where everybody can have open and conversation, and of course we always, as is always said, that we hope that you can type your questions and your comments into the comment section. But we do recognize that some people, especially out there who have a nice social media presence, may shy away from some topics because they don't want to get themselves in trouble. And so when we get into some issues sometimes where we're like, maybe they'll get themselves in a little trouble, we're less likely to have guests. That I don't know. I don't think that that's what this topic is today, but we don't have a guest today. And the topic is a little bit, it's plain and fine to me, but I can see how some people could get in trouble. All right. And before we start, one other thing. Here where we're located in Richmond, Virginia, we have had snow. It's extreme cold. But I know that there's extreme cold and snow all across the country right now. Well, in certain parts of the country right now, especially on the East Coast, Northeast area. Just be cognizant. Make sure that you check in on loved ones, family, and friends. That cold is a serious thing. And so just as a reminder sometimes, because we sometimes we forget. People's power might go out. They may not have enough food or something like that because they can't get to wherever they need to go, or people can't get to them. So let's just make sure we keep our eyes and ears open, especially with our family. Check in on our loved ones. Check in on just folk. If something looks weird across the street from the neighbors, it's no problem knocking on the door and make sure they're okay. And if you got their number, just text them and be like, "Hey, you good?" All right, so let's hop right into it. We're going to go right to one of the big topics that's going on across the nation right now, and that is the United States of America, the military here, has been bombing boats off the coast of Venezuela. And so these are boats that they have said were drug boats. They're carrying drugs to the United States. And so the military operation has been to shoot these boats with bombs, destroy the boats, kill everybody on board. And that's the task that they're taking. Now, here's some things to note. According to the reports, they are shooting people in international waters. I don't know if you know this, but international waters are international waters. That means nobody owns those. So you can't say that this is not United States space. This is not Venezuela's space. This is international waters where you're supposed to be free and clear. Also, there is no war. There has been no declaration of war against Venezuela. So we're blowing up boats and there's no declaration of war. And so those two things are just points that we're putting out here. The question for us, though, as Christians, as good people, people who strive to be good people, is how should we feel about this? Is this okay? It's not a question. More so, how should we feel about this? Is this okay? It's more of a comment and then the discussion point. As Christians and as good people, I make the statement that you cannot be okay with this. This is not okay. Even if you believe in what's going on, we need to stop drugs from coming over here. Even if you believe that the people in the boats do have drugs, even though we don't have evidence we don't, as regular people, have evidence that says yay or nay. It can't be okay just to murder folk, And so one of the big controversy that has gone on is that we're bombing these boats off of Venezuela. They bombed one boat, destroyed the boat for the most part, split it in half. Most of the people were killed, but then there were two people left. They were hanging on to the boat. And they said, well, we're going to bomb it again. And killed those people. And so the controversy there was whether or not that was a war crime. You're not supposed to kill people who are unarmed and have no threat to you at a time. So now they're discussing and trying to justify, well, they didn't call for help. So that means that they were going to continue on. And so we bombed them. And then they said, well, if they had called and radioed for somebody, then that would have meant that they were going to try to continue on, which then would have justified the bombing. And then they said they didn't try to swim away to the coast for safety. And so that means that they were still a threat. And with a partial boat, half a boat, not even enough. I don't know if you know about boats, but you need a full boat. But with the partial boat that they had, they could still continue on their mission to get the drugs that they said were on the boat here to the United States. I don't know how that is physically possible, but that was another reason to kill them. But regardless of how you feel, I think, and that's the discussion point, regardless of how you feel, whether you think it's okay for them to bring drugs across, not okay for them to bring drugs across, whether it's the fact that they're in international waters, not in international waters, as Christians, as people of God, I believe, and again, that's the discussion point, that you cannot be okay with killing people, with killing these people that are on the boats that are coming across the borders. You don't know what their intentions are. You don't know what they're doing. But what 100% true is there is not an active threat to anybody's life. If you want somebody to if somebody's bringing over drugs, you don't just kill them. And just as a little side point, and one of the reasons we can't be okay with that is because there are millions of people over the years who have gotten caught with drugs at the border. When they come, we can talk about the border down in Mexico and the border up in Canada. There are people who drive their cars and they have cars full of drugs, or they have a little bit of drugs and they're trying to get across the border. We don't just blow up their car and kill everybody. We don't pull them out the car and shoot everybody. There are millions of people over the years who have been caught at airports trying to smuggle drugs. We don't just decide to blow up the whole plane. We don't decide when they get here that we pull them off the plane and then shoot everybody. The drug dogs sniff them and then you arrest them. But somehow, some way, we think that it's okay that if somebody is driving a boat, I don't know if you call it driving a boat, captaining a boat, pushing a boat, doing whatever you're doing with a boat, that it's okay to kill them. And even if they were caught with the drugs, it's okay to kill. If they have the drugs and they're caught with the drugs, it's okay to kill them. Even if their boat is blown up and they're just sitting there, they're such a threat that it's okay to kill them. We don't do that in any other situation. But somehow it's okay in this situation. And so I don't think we have people here who are trying to justify it and saying, oh, well, yeah, they're bringing drugs over here and it's going to do all of this to the people. I don't think that as Christians, people who are supposed to be, loving our neighbor and having compassion on others, that we're just murdering people for sport. We shouldn't be justifying that. Because again, nobody else is that's not happening to anybody else. You're not driving around right now and they're just deciding where we're going to blow that up. You're going to blow people up because they have drugs. Now, I will say this. If you are a black or brown person, especially if you're a black person, some of us have been driving from one location to the next, and police officers have come across and they've decided to shoot because of who we are or what they think we have. That is the closest comp that you're going to have. So some of us do know that those trials and tribulations. But I don't think that anybody can be okay. And I think that as Christians, we should not be trying to justify that. And not only should we not justify it, we can't turn a blind eye to it. And we need to call it out for what it is. And that is wrong. Comments. And yes, feel free to comment on that, because that is a statement that I am making. That is where I think the position is. And you can let me know if you agree or disagree. Let's be real. Many of those boats do not have the ability to get to the United States. The boat that was fired upon twice, according to the commander, was on its way to Africa or Europe. These boats can't make it that far. Some who were fired upon and captured were fishermen. Yeah, that was there's some fishermen that are missing, and their families are saying, where are they? And they probably were on those boats. We don't know, because they blew up everything with no evidence. A lot of the information that they're saying doesn't make a lot of sense. They have put a warship in the area in Venezuelan space in the Caribbean because it's assumed that there's going to be a land war there where the United States is going to end up doing some land operations. So none of this actually makes a lot of sense other than the fact that we're killing people. Again, this is not a war. We're not at war. And so we're just deciding to blow some people up and to kill some people, whether they had drugs or not. Because at the end of the day, I don't know if you know this, but if you're in a boat in international waters and you have some drugs, that is not a crime punishable by death, because you're not supposed to be, you're not in any person's space. You're in international waters. Now, you can't just do crimes in international waters. So and I'm aware of that. It's not like you can go and you can just grab your friends, take them out into the international waters, murder them, and then come back and be like, well, they were in international waters, it's all good. No, you can't do that. But the fact that they're in international waters and all of a sudden we think that we're the arbiter of that and we can just kill people is crazy. And so, yeah, the information doesn't make a lot of sense. And again, we should not be comfortable with that. I think that we need to be able to call that out. Even if these people are doing something illegal with drugs and everything like that, I don't think we should just be murdering folks. Like, I think that's a step way too far. And so, and I think as Christians, that's a step way too far. And I'm really disappointed when I see people who try to justify that type of behavior, try to justify murder, try to justify killing. Because again, if you're killing, where is the opportunity for redemption? Where's the opportunity for change? What are we doing? And why do we devalue Venezuelans or why do we devalue these people who are coming across here so much? Their lives are so unimportant as comparison to all the other people who have trafficked drugs. And then they even made stuff up. They're saying that it's we're doing this because they're bringing drugs and fentanyl. They don't even have fentanyl down in Venezuela to bring across here. That's not where it comes from. It comes from other countries. And so I don't think it's okay. Now, conspiracy theory, whatever people want to say, people think that the reason they're doing is oil. Same reason, we were in the Middle East a couple of decades ago. It's always money and it's always oil. And Venezuela has a lot of oil, oil reserves. And so it's said that we're going in there to take over and get the oil, kind of like what we did back in Iraq. Whether that's right or wrong, whether that's true or not, I do think that this is murder. These are crimes. And so, and I'll say this even, I'm not in the military. I don't know anything about the military. But I know this. If you are a man or woman of principle, of character, and you know that these orders are something that bothers your soul, you shouldn't do it. And whatever the consequences are, that's what the consequences are. And people say, well, you need to protect your pension or do this and protect this, and you got to make sure. No. Whatever the consequences are, the consequences are. Look, I can't do this one. I'm not about that. And they've had people who've done that. And, those are the real heroes. But when you just go out here and you're just killing people just because somebody told you to, I don't think that absolves you. I don't think that makes you, I was just following orders. That's not going to work. That may work here, but I don't think that works anywhere else. I don't think God's going to sit back and be like, well, you did this, and this. And you'd be like, well, I was just following orders. So, I'm all right. You were out here, you're out here murdering people, you're out here sinning, but I was just following orders, so I'm good. Like, no, I don't think it works like that. So, as we look at this as Christians, I think we have to look at the responsibility that we have. And that's everywhere and everybody, even in our regular jobs. If we're not in the military and we're doing some things, I don't think that I was just following orders or I was just working is a good excuse. People like Mark Kelly and others have encouraged the military personnel not to follow orders that are illegal. It is illegal to kill the enemy when you have disabled their ability to respond. Absolutely. And that's what's gone on with this latest piece that's most controversial is when they flew up the boat and they had two people sitting there, hanging onto the boat for dear life, and they decided we're going to kill them. They weren't a threat. You really didn't even know what physical condition they were in. You have the video. One of those videos are black and white, the grainy green scale, whatever you want to call it. But you don't really know what condition they're in. Did they have a concussion? Were they bleeding? Were they struggling? Were they panicking? Did they have all their faculties? You don't know what they were. But regardless, what you did know is they ain't had no boat no more. And so they really weren't a threat. And so this should be the shame of the United States. And I'll say the United States government and the way that we operate is that, they have this saying that justice delayed is justice denied. There is no such thing as justice here in the United States based on what we do of the time that it takes to do everything that we do. The reality of the matter is we know all the facts. We know what has happened. But there will be no movement in the short run really to do anything. And in that time period, more people will die. In that time period, you have people who have made these decisions who will make other decisions about other things. And it will be a long time before anything is done, if anything is done, to bring the criminals who are the people in the military and the head of the Department of Justice to justice. And most likely nothing will happen to them, but justice will be denied because it'll take so long and so many other things. They're just sitting around chilling, And so, but the main thing for us, I think, is look, we can't sit back and act like that's okay. We can't. Well, what we can't do, and what you can't do as a moral person, I think, and as a Christian, is sit back and say, well, this is politics. Again, when people live and people die, that's not politics. Politics is the game that they play. But the results of what happens is never politics. Murdering people is not politics. Racism is not politics. Sexism is not politics. Hate is not politics. None of that stuff is politics. So the reactions and the actions that you take and the consequences that happen, those are not politics. And so let's stop lying and playing games and saying to ourselves that these things are politics. Politics is when they're running for elections and they're playing with each other. But the results that happen to regular people and everyday people, that's not politics. And so again, as Christians, I think in this situation, we cannot, I believe, we cannot defend these actions. We cannot rationalize these actions away, and we have to call them out for what they are, and they're wrong. They're wrong in the fact of the legal definition. They're wrong in the fact of the moral definition, and they're definitely wrong for us as Christians in looking at and saying, look, y'all are murdering people. What the church needs to do is demand that the person who claimed to be a Christian follow Christian principles and behaviors. Thou shalt not kill. Yeah. I think, that's what it comes down to. I've said this many a times. It's a controversial thing to say because of the way that people approach, that we approach faith in. But I truly believe that we have there's believers and there's Christians. You can break it down and you want to do it a different way. You can say you can have believers and disciples, whatever you have. But you got plenty of people who believe in God, plenty of people who believe in Christ. But we have very few people who have dedicated themselves to try to follow the words of Christ, try to follow Christian principles, try to follow the word of God. They make up their own stuff. They believe in God, and then they're just like, we're going to do what we're going to do, and he's going to get with us. But there's plenty of believers. But we don't need any believers. We need followers. Belief is not enough. That's where I come down on. And so there's a bunch of folk who I think in this situation, they'll justify and they'll be like, hey, and there's plenty of churches who won't demand anything. You don't have to follow Christian principles or behaviors as said in this comment, because all they say is that your belief is enough. As long as you believe that, and believe in your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, that you're good. If that was the case, then why do we have commandments? Why was Jesus here to clarify what we were supposed to be doing and how we were supposed to be living? If all it is belief, then hey, just believe and we're good enough, and we didn't need anything else. You could just do what you want to do. Do whatever you want to do, act however you want to act. It doesn't matter, as long as you believe. That wouldn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to me. And so the belief is you believe in him and you believe in what the teachings are, and believe that there's consequences for not doing the thing that you're supposed to do. I've said this before, and one day this will probably get me in trouble, but it's okay now because I pay him now. I always believed in the IRS. I believe that if you didn't pay your taxes on April 16th or 14th or whatever the date was, that they were going to try to come and get you. I believed in every bit of authority that they had. Did not care and did not file my taxes for multiple years. So I believed in the IRS, but I didn't follow none of their rules and regulations when it came to filing your annual taxes. And so my belief meant what? Nothing to them, because as far as they were concerned, I was out of compliance. I was illegal. I was running afoul. And so they're not giving me no awards and being like, oh, he's a great citizen and a great taxpayer, because I was not filing my taxes. That's what all these folk are doing that are running around here talking about you love God and you believe in God, but you're not following what he's talking about. You're not in compliance. You can call yourself a believer, but I don't know how you call yourself a Christian. Another comment: if you have a job that begins to demand that you participate in behaviors that are anti-Christian, you need to reconsider your participation or further employment. Absolutely. And a lot of times I think that, there's some different situations, but sometimes when you just stand up for yourself and you stand up for what you believe in, people back down. Sometimes you'll get in trouble. Sometimes they'll try to get at you, but a lot of times they'll be like, all right, we'll just move on to the next one. We'll move on to the next person and let them do it. Unless it's something that only specifically you can do. A lot of times I think if we stand firm on what we believe in, people will just move on out the way. They'll be like, oh, well, he's not going to do that. And so I think sometimes we put too much expectation on ourselves that we have to participate in the foolishness. I think that, now sometimes it's going to go all bad. You will have to find a new job, or you will get some pushback from your job or your place of employment or whatever like that, or even with friends and family if we want to go down that road. But most times when people say something like, nope, not with it, people leave it alone. Give you a good example. All these people out here who are vegan, who want to come out here all the time, and they be like, look, oh, y'all want to have a company party and we all gonna do this? I don't do that. Most of us leave them alone. When you come to the Thanksgiving, we might joke you a little bit, but you be like, look, I'm not eating turkey and doing all that. We leave them alone. But somehow we think that when it comes to Christianity and somebody asks us to do something, we be like, nah, I ain't doing that. All of a sudden it's the end of the world. I think some of that is us in our heads thinking that people won't respect us. And I think some of that is us just being scared and nervous. But the reality of the matter is, I think for most of us, they're going to leave us alone. And here in the United States, you got some legal authority behind you too, because there's been a lot of people sued for discrimination when it comes to religious beliefs. So I think that you have more on your side. We all have more on our side where we can sit back and we can say, nah, I'm not doing that because that goes against my faith. Yeah. All right. We have gotten to our time real quick. I feel like just want to remind people that we have our different offerings on Thursdays, Thursday Thirst, Facebook and YouTube. Please join us. That's our weekly Bible study. On Sundays at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we have worship service. Please join us. And on Tuesdays, that's today, from 7 to 7:45, we have a time of prayer. Please pray with us. Sometime between that time frame, that 45 minutes, you have to pray the whole time. But if you are praying at some time between there, you are praying with this ministry. And then, of course, at 8 o'clock, we have Impact 2025. One more comment. The excuse that I have to go along so I can take care of my family shows a lack of faith. that God can and will take care of us. The Jews had to leave their comfort of Egypt to gain the promise. Yeah. I think, I think that hits it. We got to have faith, as scary as it may be. And there may be something better on the other side if we have to sacrifice, our current comfort level in order to stay true to our faith. I think that's a great point. All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for all the comments. Really good. And just, I think we all need to just take inventory of ourselves and make sure as Christians that we're not just being complicit. We're enablers to foolishness. We call it out for what it is, and we don't make excuses to try to justify it. All right. Thank everybody. Thank you for joining us. And please join us again.